Do you like games? Do you like eating German food? Then you'll love Essen Spiel.
Hello and welcome to Creaking Shelves. Today we're counting down our top 10 games coming out at Essen.
2019.
Yes, in case you're watching this next year and get confused.
Yeah, it's in the title, guys. Come on. Anyway, like last time, we're not doing like our joint top 10. We're doing our individual top 5. Because we do things differently.
But because there's two of us, that adds up to 10. Yay,
We're
maths!
geniuses now. Let's hope there's no crossover on our list. Otherwise, that would just be terrible.
Yes.
Really.
That would really... Well, let's find out. This would be exciting.
Yeah. So what's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is Bloomtown.
Ooh.
A nice little town builder. Got a board, little grid,
Nice.
draft tiles, place them in.
Sounds
score
flowery.
plans.
Bloomtown.
It does. Now, the only floweriness to it that I really saw was the kind of symbology they're using in the iconography. It sounds nice.
It does sound nice.
And they're appealing to us, a kind of not the heavy game
Right,
market.
okay,
So
more
it's
casual,
kind of casual family,
Yeah.
that kind of entry level type thing.
Yeah.
They've done very well actually. They've got a Target exclusive deal for the
Really?
game once it hits full retail.
Already,
At least,
that is impressive.
yeah, for the first
that is very impressive.
however many months Target tends to buy it up for. But
Yeah.
it is going to be at Essen, I think, so you can pick it up there. When you draft a tile, you place it in your grid. That will score immediately some points depending on what's next to it. But you're also covering up a symbol in the space as you do that. And that symbol tells you from what stack you're taking your next tile.
Oh.
So you're not only trying to figure out where to position this thing for points, you're also worrying about what you're going to get next.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's very clever.
Yeah. I don't know if that means it'll end up playing a bit rote, like almost like the game may end up feeling like it's playing you.
Path to take, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah, or like if you're only thinking about one side of that equation, it'll feel like the game's forcing you down other routes.
Yes.
Down the other half of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I have some faith in the designers.
Okay.
So these are the guys behind Flamme Rouge.
Oh, right.
The
Yeah.
recent Deep Blue, actually,
Oh.
and 13 Days, which is a very good game as well. So, the stuff I've played of theirs has been great. I've really enjoyed it. They tend to go for this kind of lighter, entry-level complexity.
Yeah, those are all really good games you just listed.
Yeah.
So this, I can imagine this already sounds appealing, but now it actually sounds good.
Yeah. So it's not the next heavyweight champion, title. I've saved those for later on my list.
Great.
What do you got, Robin? What's your number 5?
My number 5 is actually similarly flower.
It's not Bloomtown.
It's not Bloomtown.
Okay, because you really faked that reactions.
But it's got a similar kind of flowery theme, and it's also a grid involved. It's called Thrive. It's a 2-player game. It's kind of like chess or drafts, in that there's a 6x6 grid, but the theme is lotus flowers floating on a pond.
Oh.
Yeah, very nice. But it's intriguing. I haven't seen anything like this before, and it's basically chess. You're taking your opponent's pieces, but your pieces happen to be lotus flowers, and you put them on the grid. But each piece, each lotus flower, has a series of holes in it. Those holes, pegs go into, and they start with a center.
Now you've got me excited. Pegs and holes, eh?
Shoving
Do
things inside
continue.
holes is great. They start with one peg in the middle of the grid of holes on the lotus flower, and then every time you move it, you put 2 pegs inside the lotus.
Okay.
And that determines which direction it is then able to move on future turns.
Uh-huh.
So there'll be a certain point where, when you reach the end game, in theory, if your piece hasn't been taken, you could have a lotus flower that can move in absolutely every direction.
Oh, it'll look like a budding lotus.
That's the idea, yeah. And I think that's really cool.
Beautiful.
And there's literally, I think, 2 rules. It seems really nice and elegant and simple. And I've never seen, to my knowledge, anything like that before. Where
I don't look into abstract games very often very closely.
So I quite like it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice kind of light start.
Oh, looks like we're both on the same
Yeah,
wavelength
same
there.
wavelength, yeah. It's weird. So what's your number 4?
No, you go first this time.
I'll go first. Oh,
Yeah.
Shit. Okay.
Probably going to look at your notes for a second then. He is going to look at his notes. Okay.
So my number 4 is One Night in Davis Manor, which is a team cooperative game. Which is an interesting way of putting it. It's a team game, basically. There are 2 teams. It says it's cooperative. Now I think about it, that's competitive.
The teams are cooperating.
The teams cooperate with each other. And it's got a nice kind of 1920s murder mystery kind of vibe to it. The premise is you've got 2 teams of people. One of them are thieves, one of them cops. And the idea is that there's a manor, Davis Manor, which has 16 rooms. In each room is a card. The card randomly dealt out, and the cards have items on them which are preferably, for the thieves, valuable jewels.
Right.
And and on your turn, players draw a card from the deck, or they move a pawn on the board to a room and try to obtain the card in that room. But there's some kind of system of exchange going on. So you have a hand limit of 3, and you have to kind of draft your hand over the course of the game by moving around the manor, putting cards down in place of the cards you're drawing.
And end up with the best possible hand of
stolen
stuff.
Hopefully the thieves leave with all the jewels. And the description of the game says the police have to catch the thieves, but they basically win by scoring victory points. And the thieves.
That's just like how real cops
That's how the real thing works.
Yeah.
But I like the kind of novelty of it, and
are the police on the board as well?
There's a pawn on the board which the players can move. By their teams. Yeah.
Oh, what? There's a single pawn between both teams.
As far as I can gather, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it moves with a roulette wheel, which is quite. So there's a spin and move. So you do a roulette wheel, and then whatever number it lands on, that's how many spaces you can move.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And there are special actions. Each player has a character on their team, and each character has a different power. And they've got abilities like they can push the pawn back or forwards 2 spaces. Obviously, you can trade cards with another teammate. You can whisper to your teammates.
Right.
So you could plan a strategy, or you could just try to annoy your opponents by whispering stuff. And I like, it's got a nice kind of party vibe to it.
Yeah.
But it's also clearly a kind of strategical game. What I don't know, of course, is how well it's going to play, which is why it's my number 4.
Cool.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a game called Flotilla.
Oh, like a parade.
More like a lot of ships.
Oh, that kind of flotilla.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
This is set in some kind of post-apocalyptic world, and it's the last floating, humanity's salvation.
On the board game?
I mean, to a degree, possibly.
Kevin Costner with gills. Yeah. Bring him in.
Well, everyone is kind of members of the society, and the game is split into kind of 2 halves.
Right.
Mechanically, more than like in time.
Okay.
So, but you all start off as kind of scavengers.
Yeah.
Going out and exploring the waves, looking for resources and survivors and that kind of thing. And then you can, at some point, sell off your boat and transition into a kind of permanent resident of the flotilla, kind of home base, where you will build that up. But you don't have to, and when you choose to transition is up to you.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
And what's doubly interesting is all the stuff that gets collected as the scavenger.
Yeah.
When you change into a resident, all the components kind of flip.
Oh.
Into into stuff that is then useful in this second kind of half of the game.
Can you go back? Can you go back and flip them
I
again?
don't think so, but you can. There's, I believe, some element of trading with the players who are still remaining the scavengers. So you can choose, in theory, I think, to remain a scavenger.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Right? It's got a real good hook.
Yeah.
Hook.
So you did that.
Yeah, that was totally intentional.
Sure.
As to whether it works, who knows? But
Right.
God, it sounds exciting. Yeah.
It must work on some level, otherwise it wouldn't be taken to Essen, right? It's got to have some kind of... Right? So, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Trice Megistus.
I beg your pardon?
Indeed.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
I don't know how that is pronounced,
that
but I
right?
know it translates as 3 smegheads.
No.
No. No, it is a game about alchemy and
cool.
mixing up
Is a drafting game.
things. It does involve drafting.
Hey.
Yeah. Dice drafting.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it is.
That's cool.
Yep. And the reason it kind of attracted me to it is primarily the designer and also the publisher.
Okay.
So,
What else have they done?
they have done. So this is Daniel Tuschini. Oh, I hope I've got that right. Did Zolkin, Teotihuacan,
Oh,
and Voyages of Marco Polo. So
right.
yeah, this is a guy
Right.
who knows his stuff and who knows dice. What's kind of unique about the dice drafting
Yeah.
is they all get rolled at the start of the round, as per usual, divided up into different bins.
Yeah.
And when you take one, not only does the colour of the dice matter
Yeah.
for kind of what transmutations you can perform,
Right.
types of, whatever, resource exchange, and the symbol on it, could be used for what type of resources, essences you can gather.
Right.
But also, there's a property that they call potency of the dice,
Okay.
which is you keep track of it. There is literally a track on the board, on your player board, going from like 1 to 5 or whatever, which you put your dice on when you take it,
Right.
and that is determined by the number of dice left in the bowl. Well, in the bowl when you take it.
Ah.
All right. So, going to a part of the, one of the pools that no one else is going to is beneficial because you get more of this potency, which is kind of your number of actions you can perform type resource.
Right.
So certain actions cost you a certain amount of potency. And then, you have your usual gather the resources, turn them into other things to fulfill certain requirements, complete experiments. You're trying to discover the Philosopher's Stone, or as many bits or as much information about it as you can. So there's a kind of discovery mechanic. You can publish results.
Oh.
There's definitely some thematic connections to a game from a few years ago called Alchemist, I think.
Let us know if you've played it.
Yeah, it's really good. That one, very tongue-in-cheek look at academia, which this one seems a bit drier and a bit more.
Right. A bit sincere, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Bit less Terry Pratchett. But yeah, reliable publisher. It's Board and Dice, who I'm pretty sure I've recommended on some of these other anticipated videos. So, hoping for really positive things.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. That sounds very different to my choice for number 3, which is another mystery-themed type game. Fully cooperative this time, not just semi-cooperative. See what I've done here? I've gone from competitive to semi-cooperative competitive to fully cooperative.
Ooh!
Where will he go next? I actually don't know. Why not? But this one, and I forgive my pronunciation, is kind of cheating. It's 2 games that are both at Essen, but they're the same thing basically. It's Sherlock Das Labor or Das Labor.
Okay.
Das Pate or something.
Oh,
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, the one with all about the meat spread.
About the meat spread, yeah. It's about working hard to spread the meat on bread. It's really simple game, actually. Sherlock's using
Where did I leave the pate?
It's actually...
Watson ate it all.
They're part of the Q series, which has been going for some years, which is a deck of 32 cards. It's fully cooperative. I think it's like up to 8 players or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And on a player turn, you draw a card from the deck, and you can choose to discard it or reveal it to all the other players, because each card has information relevant to solving a mystery, which is set up by the very first card in the deck.
Okay, cool.
So the point is you play until you've exhausted all 32 cards, or I guess until you think you're ready to solve the mystery. When you solve the mystery, you consult a little booklet which has loads of questions. You have to answer the questions. If you get them right, you get points. If you get them wrong, you don't get points. But even if you get it right, you can lose points, and this is quite similar to Sherlock Holmes' Consulting Detective.
Right.
For every kind of false lead you followed, you lose points.
So some of the cards
are red herrings, yes. So this is where the player choice comes in, like, is this real or is this, a false lead?
Nonsense, right.
So that's where you have to cooperate, and because you can, I think, give each other clues as to what card you've got before you reveal it. There's like two types of text on the card. There's text that you can read out to everybody before you reveal the full card, and then you have to decide whether the text that you can't read out and keep secret is actually real or false information. So that's where the cooperative element comes in.
And you can kind of discuss it carefully in
you
some
can
way,
discuss
so
it
like
without
what
giving
other
too much
people have
away.
seen, or
I guess.
Or is it for you to decide on your own?
It's for you to decide, but you can discuss. Like I said, there's some text that you can read out before you reveal the full card.
Right.
And together you can discuss, right, that sounds
Is
useful.
that leading towards something useful?
Because obviously the meat of the information is secret until you reveal it. A proven good series of games, exciting theme, suits me perfectly. But sadly, one play only, and that's it.
I assume they're not very expensive though, right?
No, like €8.
Wow.
Yeah, so cheap one as well.
Yeah.
So, on to number 2.
Yes.
Second choice. It's escape pods.
Escape pods.
Yes, escape pods, which looks like it's a fun, family-friendly game. Yes.
I want to say it's a really small escape room game, but is it?
It's not.
Okay,
Although
cool.
now I'm suddenly thinking that'd be really cool.
Yeah. They come in like a little plastic pod. No. Okay. What is escape pods
really
actually?
It's actually kind of a racing game. But a racing game with a specific objective, and the idea is that each player controls an escape pod, and you're trying to rescue people from some kind of disaster and get across a board of hexagonal spaces to one of 3 refuges at the other end of the board.
Okay.
And the refuges have a limited number of space, so there's only so many people you can rescue. But what really intrigued me about this is the action system. So what it is, each player has a card which lists their basic actions and their advanced actions, and the advanced actions are important because that's how you get a person to be rescued onto your escape pod.
Right.
You ferry them to the refuges.
Yeah.
Basic actions, obviously, moving and stuff like that. But you also have action tokens. And you take 2 actions per turn, and every time you take an action, you put an action token onto the relevant action space of your card, which then blocks off that action until you have reached round end and you clear off your actions.
Right, okay.
So, but the difference is that basic actions, you can do it and then take your action token back. Advanced actions, you put it on there and it stays there until you performed each of the advanced actions. But there's 3 of them and you're doing 2 a turn, so you have to plan ahead to your next move and possibly your next move after that.
Get them all in sequence.
Yeah, get them in exactly the right sequence to perform it, which I think is very cool.
So the efficiency there is in properly timing everything.
Yes, exactly.
I assume you're all on the same board, so
you're on the same board. Yeah.
Mess each other up.
Exactly. Someone could move into your way or pick up a person that you wanted to pick up, and it's just a disaster.
And that knocks you back. Means you can't do it for another round or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Nice.
And you keep going until there's no more space in the refuges, so it's about who rescues the most people.
Yeah.
And I like the positive theme. It's like about saving people. This is good. Although it's a bit
apart from the people who don't save.
Oh dear. And I thought that was a really intriguing action system, and I hope I explained that well.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is a game called Crystal Palace.
As in the Crystal Palace?
As in the Crystal Palace
of
okay. World's Fair 1851.
It was a great exhibition, according to the
You
reviews.
remember it well.
I
So it is, you are... oh god, I can't remember if you're businesses or nations or...
Oh, really?
Either way,
Yeah.
you are doing clever stuff, again, with dice.
Oh, okay. Here's a theme.
Apparently dice is the theme this year.
Yeah.
So this one is a dice placement game.
Okay.
So, sort of worker placement but with dice. So certain spaces need certain values of dice. What is super interesting about this game, though, is that you have your pool of dice, and at the start of the round, you choose what pips your dice are going to have.
Oh.
Right?
I was literally going to ask, do you roll? But you actually choose your pips.
Yep.
So
And you want them to be higher, generally. Generally higher values are better.
Yeah.
But...
Okay.
But you have to pay for every single pip that is in your entire total. So it's how much do you want to pay? How do you want to spread those pips across your dice? Yep.
Cool.
And it gets really tough because you have a phase where you're placing them out
Yeah.
into the different areas. There's kind of like 8 different regions of the board which have actions associated with them.
Yeah.
But then not all of those dice spaces will actually be able to use the action of the location. So you might have 4 spaces for dice, of which, maybe some of them require higher value dice than the others.
Right.
But only 3 actual actions available there.
Okay.
So you might go in
yeah.
with a low value dice into one of the low value spots, but someone with a higher value dice will take priority over you.
Right.
And so, depending on where you come within the kind of line of action of dice placement spaces, you might miss out entirely.
Brutal, that is.
It is. It really is.
Brutal.
So yes, hopefully there's enough flexibility to avoid it. But like there's some kind of like pity mechanism where if you don't get to use a dice, you get like a coin. But bearing in mind you may have spent 2 coins just on its pips.
Yeah. It's not great. Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely could be one where you're left open to some vicious screwage.
I can see why that appeals to you. That's it's a mathematical game with a lot of strategy. I like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm bad at maths. I wouldn't be able to. I'd probably spend more money than the pips on my dice. Like, Robin, what are you doing? It's like,
Yeah, I can imagine that first decision of how much money you're spending and how you're doing the dice is incredibly tough.
I'd splash out and go 6 and be like,
6 is all in all.
Yes, everything's a 6. Yeah.
I mean, you can take loans.
Oh,
All the
can you?
loans.
Okay.
It's one of those economic games where
Yes.
loans are available, which is
Yes.
always a wonderful way of dooming yourself. I think they're just negative points at the end of the game.
Does the game end when it bursts into flames?
I think it ends probably at the start of the show.
Oh, right.
When you launch the show and everyone comes rushing in and you...
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But you can set fire to it afterwards, of course. It is cardboard, so...
Depends how badly the game goes.
Yeah. So for thematic authenticity, you can burn it afterwards, yeah.
Never bring Robin to play Crystal Palace.
No.
I'll just burn your copy. Matt, tell me your number 1 game for Essen 2019.
Oh, yeah. Well, my number 1 game, there could be only one this year.
Highlander?
It is... What?
Oh.
No.
Oh. What did I get?
It is Maracaibo. I might not know how to pronounce it. Yet again.
Catchy.
It's the new Alex Pfister game.
Oh.
The spiritual successor to Great Western Trail, one of my favourite games of all time.
I'm literally up there.
Yes.
I really love that. Yeah, you love that game.
I really do.
You really love it.
So, yeah, when I saw this was coming out, there were no other games even come close. Like, not at all. So, yeah. It takes the kind of movement system of Great Western Trail, that kind of track that you're making your way along towards Kansas type thing.
Yeah.
Transplants it to the Caribbean. But twists it in a really potentially quite interesting way.
Yeah.
So, whereas in Great Western Trail, you'd reach Kansas, you'd sell your cows, and then you'd go back to the start, and everyone would just keep looping through in that kind of natural way.
Yeah.
In this one, when someone reaches the end of the track,
Mm-hmm.
that is the end of the round for everyone.
Ooh.
So there's now this pressure to keep up with other players as you're going round.
That's clever.
Yeah, and you've got the same thing of visiting locations to do actions.
Yeah.
And various things that you're working on, like gaining influence with the different nations by fighting battles with them and exploring the lands of Venezuela. That's where Maracaibo is.
That's not the Caribbean. Did you say Caribbean?
Where does Gulf?
Gulf, yeah. Caribbean might be in the Gulf.
It's
like
Venezuela is the
country,
southern
right?
end.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's the Venezuelan coast going up, up and around Cuba.
Right.
I think there's even some story elements that he's put in. Yeah, he seems keen on adding little story and campaign elements to his Euro games.
Right.
Which tend to take the form of kind of like fairly minor scenario twists.
Yeah.
Rather than like actual story.
Right.
But there is a campaign system in it, which is a bonus.
Right.
Right. Not something. This isn't a legacy game to get excited about. This is just a neat little bonus. At least if Blackout Hong Kong was anything to go by.
That sounds quite cool.
Yeah.
Good choice. I hope mine tops it. I think in terms of ambition, I think mine tops it.
Oh wow!
So,
Yeah.
do you
probably.
like European history?
Yeah.
Do you like estimated game length of 540 minutes?
Less so.
Do you like? Do you like the War on Terror and Twilight Struggle?
Yes.
Do you wish there was a third player?
Oh, Labyrinth: The War on Terror.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not the War on Terror. No, so this is Rise of Totalitarianism.
Oh, that's a charming.
What a great way to finish.
Title.
Very positive way to end this video.
Good.
And it's demoing at Essen, so this is exciting. I think it re-implements Democracy Under Siege from 2011. The idea is there's 3 players. It's very similar to Twilight Struggle, I think, in the sense that you're focusing on Europe.
Yep.
And it's about influencing the economic and political stability of countries in Europe, but with a twist, because it's focused on the rise of totalitarianism in the 1930s, 1920s as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 players, each of them not controlling power, but an ideology. So you've got social democracy, communism, and fascism. And and there are 2 major focuses called the major powers, which is Germany and Italy, obviously, because that's where fascism arose. And then lots of other European countries, which are called minor powers. And you're kind of trying to influence the political stability of the minor countries whilst trying to control the major powers. And the way you do it is there's a deck of 90 cards. Each turn, a crisis is drawn from that deck of cards, and the players have to not resolve it, but the players have to deal with it, but each respective in their own way, according to their own ideology. And they choose their actions secretly and then reveal them.
Right.
And then whatever happens, happens. At the end of each turn, you look at the effect of the way that crisis has been resolved. Basically, whichever power was more successful in dealing with that crisis influences the stability and economy of a country in the way that they want to, and whichever player had a greater influence on the country determines which way it shifts. And then you do a stability check at the end of the turn. Did I mention this was complex?
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
And then those countries can turn either way. And I just thought, wow, that is, as a history nerd, that is cool. It sounds heavy.
Epic.
Yeah. Sounds
540 minutes.
I know. I'm like, I'm never going to play this game.
No, I know. just that does sound awesome.
Hold the box up and cover up the estimated time. Just like, do you want to play a quick game?
Is it 3-player only as well?
I think it is, sadly.
Yeah,
it's not 2 to 3 players. On a very shallow level, there's one thing to fault those fantastic games, Twilight Struggle and Labyrinth War on Terror. It's that visually they've dated a bit. You know?
Yeah.
And any game that can recreate that experience. Make it nicer to look at.
Yeah.
You know, to really immerse you in the story.
Yeah.
Is I'm in favour of. Well, of course, what we don't know, because it's just demoing, is whether it actually works as well as it should. But because it's Democracy Under Siege was good, so hopefully this will be good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. We went from like nice cooperatives, Sherlock, and escape pods, and like
lots of cute
little flower lotus things. Rise of totalitarian!
What do you think of our list of 10 most anticipated games of Essen 2019?
We managed to avoid clashing.
We did. It was extraordinary.
Yes, you got a full top 10. That was good.
But I want to know if our list does clash with your list.
Yes.
Are there any games on here that you're really looking forward to? Are there any games that we didn't mention that you think would be great? Please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, because it's very easy to miss good games.
It's just
each
year.
Yeah,
thousands to look through.
Each year there's at least one or two that comes completely blindsided me, so I'm always excited to find out what this year's ones will be.
Yeah. And if you enjoyed this video, then please think about liking and subscribing if you haven't already. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Goodbye.